Welcome back, everybody, to the GSMC Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. So we just got done recapping the High Rocks World Championships, and now we are going to be talking about soccer. And we are going to talk about predictions for the official USWNT for the Olympics. This is my favorite segment today, I think. I love talking about soccer, and always talking about roster predictions goes either really good for me or really bad. And I'm hoping this goes good for me, although I think that these are solid predictions, not gonna lie. But I am biased because they are my predictions. So anyway, Emma Hayes is a few weeks into her official tenure as head coach of the U.S. Women's National Team, and she already has a pivotal decision to make. She must narrow a talented pool down to an 18-player roster for the Paris Olympics, where the Americans hope to win a gold medal for the first time since 2012 and move on from last year's World Cup failure. No pressure, right? It is much harder to choose an Olympic roster than a World Cup roster, in my opinion, since there are 5 fewer players for the Olympics and only 2 rest days between games. So you have to think a lot about like endurance. There's so much to think about if you're a coach and you are picking a roster. The tournament, though smaller than a World Cup, is grueling, and major questions loom as Hayes readies to name her official roster in the coming weeks. The need for versatility on a small roster is obvious. Can a defender play center back and full back? Is a talented attacking player capable of performing on the wing or as a striker, or maybe even a number 10 midfielder in a pinch? It gets more complicated to think of an entire 18-player roster within the tactics that Hayes hopes to implement, all while gaming out the worst-case scenarios for injuries and replacements. Hayes has officially been in charge of the USWNT for only 2 games, and she's a bold coach, so she could have some surprises in store, and I would not be shocked if she does. But here is my predictions for the 18-player roster for the Olympics, plus 4 alternates. And one thing about the alternates, too, is that's also super tricky because you have to think about, is this player able to play more than one position? You know, and one of the alternates has to be a goalkeeper, so it's like, I don't know. Because you also want a goalkeeper that can play the field at the same time. But can you actually achieve that? I don't know. So there's so much to think about with this. I'm excited to see if there's going to be any surprises for this, but here are the predictions for what I think the official roster could look like. For goalkeepers, I am predicting that Alyssa Naeher and Casey Murphy will be the goalkeepers on the team. I've talked about Naeher multiple times on my show, and without a doubt, she is my favorite goalkeeper in the NWSL. I played soccer for 15-ish years, and I was a goalkeeper for the entire time. And let me just say, I've always been a fan of Naeher, more like ever since she was in the NWSL, whenever she started playing for them. But regardless, she is the best goalkeeper, in my opinion, in the league because of her versatility and confidence. She missed the most recent USWNT training camp because of a thigh injury, but she was back in net for the Chicago Red Stars on Saturday at Wrigley Field. She's been the clear number 1 for over 5 years. Her ability to do the spectacular was reinforced in a pair of penalty shootout victories earlier this year. In each, she stopped 3 kicks and scored 1 of her own. So, that's insane. She routinely makes unbelievable saves, and she is by far the most experienced goalkeeper in the pool. On the other hand, Casey Murphy is the number 2 pick, but here's the thing. Jane Campbell has the edge on Murphy in some advanced metrics in NWSL play, like post-shot expected goals, minus goals, which suggests superior shot stopping. But still, I think Murphy has proved she is a stronger pick. Like last year in the NWSL, she collected 9 clean sheets. In this season, she has already had 5 clean sheets. I think she shows consistency and dominance in the NWSL, and that will help her maybe get this number 2 pick. And I will be bringing up Jane Campbell later, so don't worry about that. For defenders, we got Naomi Girma, Erna Davidson, Jenna Neiswanger, Crystal Dunn, Emily Fox, and Emily Sonnet. Girma might be the first name on the... Oh my goodness. There we go. Okay, I kept clicking to switch the slides here, but it was not working. It was really making me mad. Okay. I'm out of breath from talking. It's actually so sad. I'm how unathletic am I? Okay, so Girma might be the first name on the roster and starting 11. She was the best and most consistent player for the USWNT at last year's World Cup. And she continues to prove she is the best defender in the pool each time she plays for club and country. She can defend the top forwards in the world and, importantly, generate attacks on the dribble or with precise passing. Her progressive ball from a high area set up the opening goal of the USWNT's first friendly against South Korea. Davidson's omission from last year's World Cup roster was a product of bad timing, as she recovered from a torn ACL in 2022 and the Chicago Red Stars struggled through a wretched WSL season. Davidson is back in form now and is clearly the preferred central partner alongside Girma. Her left foot is a unique asset, and like Girma, she can set plays with a unique vision. Expect Girma and Davidson to carry the entire Olympic load at center back, barring injuries. Okay, that's like so like biased, but like low-key, that's what I'm thinking. Okay, no player has improved her stock more over the past 8 months than Naeher. She earned her first call up in November right after winning NWSL Rookie of the Year and a league title, and she has thrived as the left fullback asked to effectively play as a winger when the team is in possession. Her assist to Crystal Dunn in the USWNT's most recent match reiterated why her left foot is such an asset on that wing. She perfectly fits the profile of a Hayes fullback, and she can play as a more conservative third center back when the system gets changed. Now, like Naeher, Fox is an attacking fullback with the pace to get up and down the wing and the defensive abilities to hold her own in several different roles. There was and remains an expectation on Fox to be a long-term solution at fullback. She is easily part of this 18-player squad. The question is whether she starts on her usual right side. For midfielders, I have Lindsay Huron, Rose Lavelle, Sam Coffey, Katarina Marcario, and Corbin Albert. Huron best fits into the USWNT's combination of midfielders as a box-to-box number 8 midfielder who complements her more defensive and attack-minded central partners. She's clearly, I'm like trying to like sit myself up. Give me a second. Okay, so she's clearly someone Hayes will lean on to lead the team on and off the field. Lavelle remains arguably the most creative player in the USWNT's pool. Katarina Marcario and Jaden Shaw make strong challenges to that claim, but Lavelle has done it for longer and continues to produce moments of pure magic. She is exceptional on the ball and might be the USWNT's best option at the number 10 playmaker position. The never-ending question of how to solve the USWNT's defensive midfield hole appears to be solved. With this, Coffey is the obvious answer. Coffey is a superior ball distributor who keeps cool under pressure. Defensively, she is physical and intelligent when she needs to execute some subtle dark arts, but she isn't a wrecking ball type of defensive midfielder. Hayes will lean on Coffey heavily as the only true number 6 on this roster, which impacts several other decisions in the 18. There is no denying that Hayes has special insight into Marcario's game and trajectory. Hayes signed the attacking midfielder at Chelsea last year and then oversaw Marcario's return to the field earlier this year. During the 6 months of Hayes' double duty as a Chelsea coach and impending USWNT coach. Marcario returned to the number 10 role for the USWNT recently in a friendly against South Korea, and I think she did very well. Also, Albert had a strong showing in her start against South Korea on June 4th. She is reliable as a number 8, a number 10 if needed, or another defensive midfielder and a double pivot. She gives Hayes in-game options without needing to make a substitute. The potentially controversial part of Albert's inclusion would be how she fits into the team's chemistry following the recent uproar around her social media activity, which drew condemnation from several USWNT players, past and present. Even though Albert did apologize for it, we're not going to get into it, but she did end up apologizing, but still, like, it happened, what she did, so, yeah. Anyway, Albert's inclusion in midfield would come at the expense of 16-year-old Lily Johannes, 18-year-old Olivia Moultrie, and even the more experienced Andy Sullivan, all of whom have fewer looks in Hayes' new system, so that's also interesting to consider. Okay, so for forwards, and someone commented that they love Alex Morgan. Okay, well, here we're going to talk about Alex Morgan, and I'm a huge fan of Alex Morgan. Okay, so for forwards, we have Mallory Swanson, Trinity Rodman, Jaden Shaw, and Alex Morgan. Okay, Swanson is nearing a return to her world-beating self of early 2023 before an injury ended her World Cup dreams. That is good news for the USWNT and makes her an easy conclusion on this roster. She is likely to be one of the team's starting wingers, and she even saw a few minutes in the number 9 role in recent friendlies. Her ability to interchange with teammates makes her hard to track, and her talents are unique. A healthy Swanson is a problem for opposing defenses. Mallory Swanson was the USWNT's best attacking player until her injury last year, right before the World Cup. At the time of her injury, she was on a 6-game scoring streak. Now she's getting back to where she left off. So, I mean, it is a bit iffy, but, I mean, if we see her improve recently, I guess more chances of her being the forward on the team. Rodman is the only player to have played in every USWNT game since the start of 2023. Nothing more really needs to be said. Rodman is the best two-way winger the team has, in my opinion. She terrorizes defenses with her creativity on the ball, and she defends tirelessly on the wings, tracking back to cover for fullbacks, and prevent opponents from transitioning. So, like, she has that double threat. And then Smith is a lock to be on the roster and is likely to be on the team's first option up top as striker as well. It is her best position, and she is especially effective with it, with Swanson and Rodman playing beside her especially. Granted, the trio entered the game together at the end of the match against a tired opponent, but look at how the USWNT's attack came alive in the second friendly against South Korea when these three played off each other. Smith bagged an impressive goal moments after entering the match. Her recent play with the Portland Thorns shows that she can be effective in wide areas also. So the most effective, talented young player in the USWNT pool and in the NWSL as well, I would say, is Shaw. Figuring out where to play her is the biggest question, though. She has thrived for the USWNT and San Diego Wave and Central areas, but she has often had to settle for an inverted winger role based on those around her. That flexibility adds to her case to be included in this roster. Scoring in 5 straight games earlier this year didn't hurt either, and the question then becomes how to best utilize her. No roster topic has demanded more conversation over the past 2 years than the status of striker Alex Morgan. Morgan bucks the USWNT's trend of versatility as an out-and-out number 9, but she has several things in her favor. Hayes has lauded Morgan's leadership on several occasions and stressed the need for veterans in the locker room. Morgan is easily the most capped player left in the mix, one with 2 World Cup titles and the last remaining player from the 2012 gold medal team. On the field, her ability to hold up the ball, control play, and endure physicality from opposing defenses to win free kicks in dangerous areas makes her stand out as a lone striker. Morgan led the counterattack to spark Dunn's opening goal in the team's most recent friendly. Like, I am a huge fan of Alex Morgan, and I swear I better see her on that team. Now, unlike the World Cups, the Olympic Games feature 4 so-called alternates who can be added to the roster in the event of a tournament-ending injury to a player. One of the 4 must be a goalkeeper, so here's a prediction as to who Hayes would choose for these 4 alternate spots. At least who I would choose, maybe would be more accurate. Casey Kruger, Lily Johannes, Olivia Moultrie, and Jane Campo. Johannes is probably the most fascinating of the group. At 16 and having just played her first international match, including her on a roster like this could be risky. Having Johannes in the Olympic environment would be the perfect precursor to the 2027 World Cup. And then Kruger can serve as the alternate to replace anyone across the back line, and Moultrie has the right mix of currently available talent, potential, and familiarity with the system. And then Campo looks like the clear third goalkeeper too, and I think she does have more potential on the field as well compared to some other goalkeepers that we've seen. So that concludes this segment on the predictions for the USWNT roster, and now we're going to move on to the next segment and talk about the golfers competing in the Olympics. Before we begin, we are going to be taking a short break, so I will see you guys very soon.